Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren Vaccarello. Thank you for the introduction and for having me here. So what I want to do for the next 15 minutes or so is really give everyone here a crash course in how to attract customers and how to convert customers. It is a ton of information, super high level, but it's really meant to inspire a different way of thinking. So really quick background about me before we get started. Like we said, I'm the VP of Marketing and Customer Engagement at Box. I'm a 15-year digital marketer. I wrote a couple of books on digital. My best friend likes to say anytime her daughter has trouble falling asleep, she pulls out one of my books, kid goes right to bed. So that is my pitch for anyone who has small children. So first thing to do, so I get a lot of people asking me, you know, how do you drive customers? What do you do? What are the tactics? What are the campaigns you run? And before I start with anything, before you go into what do you actually do, the first step, the most important thing you need to do before you actually turn an ad on, send an email out, is figure out who your ideal customer actually is. The way that I look at this, and a good way for kind of everyone to start thinking about who your ideal customer is, take a second and say, well, how would you describe your ideal customer? What attributes, what are the things about that person or that company that makes them ideal? So if you are selling to businesses, it's things like, what size company are you selling to? Maybe what industry? How much revenue do they have? Are they in a specific vertical? Are you selling to an IT person? Are you selling to a line of business owner? Are you selling to sales? And I'll give you a good example for this. When I got to Box, I've been at Box about 3 years, we had a lot of time thinking about, well, everyone and anyone can use Box. Box is a cloud content management platform. Everyone can use our product. Individuals can use our product. You can go to small companies. You can sell into HR departments. You can sell into IT. It sounds like this amazing opportunity. When you have a product that everyone and anyone can buy, the problem with that is if you are going to sell and market to anyone and everyone, you're probably not doing anything that well, and you're probably actually selling and marketing to no one. So one of the first things we did when I started was say, are we going to sell to consumers, or are we going to focus on the enterprise? And we focus on the enterprise. And then we really sat and thought about, are we selling to IT? Are we selling to lines of business? Who are we going to focus on? Because every minute you spend not focusing on your ideal customer, no matter how big of an opportunity it is a minute you're not spending focusing on who you're going to make the most money from. The next thing you look at when you're thinking about who your ideal customer is, what are they trying to do? What are their objectives? What are they trying to accomplish? Think about this idea of buying triggers. What makes these accounts, what makes these businesses, what makes these consumers take action? What is that, what I like to call that hair on fire moment, that thing that says, this is super important, I need to care at this exact moment in time. And also, it's hard to think about, but why don't people buy from you? Who do they buy from? Do they buy from your competitor? Do they care about the status, quo? One of the most important tips I can give everybody is when you're defining who your ideal customer is, take a minute and think about who can you absolutely not sell to. This sounds like an amazing opportunity, but we are going to consciously say we don't sell to this type of person, to this individual, to this type of company. We're not going to actively go out and do this because it's just going to distract us from our core mission. So once you come up with who your ideal customer is, the next step in creating demand, building out your strategy is, what's that messaging that you need to address their needs? For my quick pop quiz of anybody, does anyone know the chemical formula behind me? Audience participation? Guesses? Create messaging that addresses your customer needs. That is the chemical formula for alcohol, so just figuring out where everyone here is right now. I know it's the middle of the day, but so when you're thinking about this idea of messaging that addresses your customer needs, you hear about this idea of an elevator pitch. What are those 15 words that really describe what your customer needs? So you know who your customer is. This is the industry they're in. Maybe these are behavioral attributes, business attributes. Maybe these are specific demographics. Great. This is who I care about. This is why they need our product. Come up with your value proposition that aligns exactly to that customer. What are the key things that make your product different from someone else. Is it you're able to get from one location to another faster because you're not picking up across 5 streets, and your key differentiator is actually speed and safety? Know what those differentiators are and focus on, honestly, 3 value drivers. I'm sure there's 100 reasons your product is better than your competitor. Start with 3 and focus there. Then turn that into your positioning statement. What are those 100 words that really articulate who your company is? And at bare minimum, everyone here should know why your company exists. What makes your company the expert? Why do you exist, and why are you better than the people around you, and what problems are you solving for your customer? So you know who your customer is. You create this whole set of messaging that says, I know who my customer is. I know this is the problem that they have. And this is what we're going to call a hair on fire problem. I'm going to steal this from a friend of mine. The best way to sort of articulate what a hair on fire problem is say you have legitimately your hair on fire. The most important thing, if your hair is on fire, you might not care that you're having relationship issues, you're having issues at work, the train is late. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is putting the fire on top of your head out. What is the most important solution for you if your hair is on fire? It's probably a hose, maybe a bucket of water. But if someone gives you a brick, you know what? You're probably going to try that brick and bang it over your head to make sure your hair is not on fire anymore. And it's not going to be the most elegant solution, but you know what? It solves your biggest problem today. When you're going to market, think about that kind of problem that you're trying to solve, that thing that is such a burning issue that everything else just doesn't matter, and even an imperfect solution is actually worth it. And when you build out your messaging, try to think about what that really important issue is and how you're solving it. So once you come up with your ideal customer, you have your ideal messaging that solves this, oh my gosh, my hair is on fire problem for your customer. The next step is this whole idea of an integrated marketing campaign. And with an integrated campaign, you really want to be everywhere that your customer is. So this is actually an example of a campaign I ran when I was at Salesforce 1,000 years ago at this point, but it was super interesting. So when you're thinking about what you're going to do, how you're going to actually take all of this content and put it into market, there's this whole idea of top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. Hopefully you'll get the slides, take a picture. It gives you some just really tactical examples of what's in each. When you're thinking top of funnel, this is going to be things like your content marketing, maybe free trials, social media. This is how do you just let people know your product exists? They may not actively be searching for your product, but you want them to know conceptually it's out there. Your middle of funnel content is going to start thinking through, how do I convert people? How do I convert people today? Good general tricks and tips for you as you're thinking about how do you build your market-facing demand strategy. If you're in an industry that people already know about, you have established competitors, something like paid search is probably a great option for you. If you were redefining an industry, redefining a category, you don't have people actively looking for your niche, your competitors for your industry, paid search, probably not a good option for you. It works if people are looking. If no one's looking, it's really not going to deliver a lot. So that's when you're going to think, how do I start to build awareness? How do I get people to know we exist and actually to start looking? And as you go through this whole concept of bottom of the funnel, you're going to look for things like customer references. How do you provide a little bit more validation? And a lot of your marketing material should really be about how do I validate the purchase decision. This could be on your website and having things on your website that say, hey, if it's a B2B company, this other business is actually doing the same thing and solving the same problem as you. So really important as you start to think through this, the most important thing when building an integrated marketing campaign is take that same message you just came up with and how do you re-articulate it in everything that you do. It's really easy to have whoever's sending emails to send emails that say one thing. Your website says something a little bit different. Maybe you're running ads on Facebook that say something a little bit different. Maybe you're running paid search ads that are pitching something close, and maybe it's similar to your social media campaign, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is tie all of this together as much as possible. Tie your different ideas, your different messages together, and that how you're re-articulating that here's my key position, this is how I'm solving a problem. Every chance you get, say the same message again and again and again. That's going to get people to start remembering who you are, remembering why you matter, and being able to associate your brand with actually what you want them to care about and how you deliver it. This is a really old but kind of fun example from Oracle Open World a number of years ago, where Salesforce was doing basically a competitive keynote around Oracle Open World. So what we started to do, and turn this around really quickly, was how do we make sure everywhere at the time their biggest competitor, everywhere that someone would talk about their biggest competitor, Salesforce would actually show up. And it was everything from running ads on social media. If someone was actively searching on YouTube on paid search for Oracle Open World, you wanted to make sure Salesforce came up. If people were reading articles about Oracle Open World, we used display campaigns that were using Oracle Open World and using keyword targeting to make sure our display ads were showing up on every single article about Oracle Open World. What ended up happening is Salesforce, not just through this, but through a number of other efforts, where it actually got more press coverage around Oracle Open World than Oracle did. And the cost of the campaign that we ran around Oracle Open World was in the tens of thousands of dollars, where Oracle Open World costs in the tens of millions of dollars. So this whole concept, you can actually take for any company. And if you think about who your competitor is or a specific industry or space you want to be in, you can start thinking about how can I kind of co-opt that idea and surround that entire idea with your product or service. Next up, this is great. You're attracting a ton of traffic. You're bringing people to your app, to your website. You actually need to figure out how to optimize that funnel. It's great if someone comes to your website. It's great if someone goes to your app. That doesn't actually mean they bought anything. So really high level of how you're thinking through how do you optimize a funnel. Once you get someone to your website, if you are a lead generation website, most important thing for you to do is get someone to fill out that form and to get a lead. There's a ton of great content on form optimization, lead optimization. Look it up online. I'm happy to send you resources. This could be an hour presentation. But know that if you were collecting information on your website, you should always be testing that form. Always try to figure out what are different ways, tips and tricks to get more information. You can autofill information on the back end. You can shorten the form and run a few different experiments on messaging. If you are handing leads to a salesperson, they're actually not converting online, make sure the handoff between the lead to the sales team is actually super tight. This is the thing most B2B or lead gen companies miss, is they'll do a ton of great work getting the lead, the handoff to the salesperson won't have information, the salesperson picks up the phone, they have no idea what to talk about, and you just wasted a bunch of money for that lead. So make sure you're coordinating across both sides. And again, if you're working with a sales team, think about how marketing can help close deals. We have a ton of information. What can we do to actually help convert to close? And this really for everybody. And on the B2C side, consumer companies have been doing this for years. It's becoming more and more ubiquitous. Is how do you keep all of your customers and all of your users engaged post-sales to really take this whole idea of maximizing customer lifetime value? So if you are a B2C site, you're converting online, or you are getting someone to sign up for an app and you're going to make money on usage, which is great. More and more businesses are going to this usage-based model. So marketing doesn't stop at the time they download the app, they make the initial purchase. Start thinking about what you can do post-sales to keep someone engaged, to keep them buying your product. A couple of things we've done at Box is really define what this sort of post-sales customer journey is. What do we want people to do? What do we want them to know? And how do we proactively go out and really reinforce that information? My one big tip for everyone is while you're smaller, do things that don't scale. And this is really counterintuitive. Don't spend a ton of time setting up infrastructure and setting up really deep best practices. If you are sub $1 million in revenue, you're going to spend more time on it than it's worth. We used to do what we'd call fake marketing automation. So instead of spending a ton of time building marketing automation when we were super small, it was, can I fake marketing automation emails from the CEO and just do like boomeranged triggered emails? And do that while you're waiting for the kind of long-term systems to be in place. So think about the things that you can do that don't scale, that your bigger competitors can't do. And final tip for everyone is as you're growing, you really want to focus on customer happiness. If you have customers that love and adore you, it's going to pay dividends. So use something like Net Promoter Score to understand customer sentiment and take actions. So that is everything from me. Hopefully that was helpful for everyone. Happy to chat more after this. You're done?